What's up, yo? Welcome back to the Republic. My name is Pierre. I'm your host. But before we begin and talk about politics and all that cool stuff that you like, that's why you stick around. Well, make sure you like and you subscribe to my channel, the Republic ? So let's get started. But before we do that, give me 1 second. I need to take a hit. Wait. That hookah was good. The topic of the day is, are we heading for a civil war? Well, I damn think so, you know, and my taxes afford me the possibility to say that, cause I believe so, and look what's happening across the states, all over the states, and it's only gonna intensify, sadly. I hate to say it, but it's gonna intensify. But what are we gonna do, you know? Like, we need to find solutions to issues that are so important to society, you know? When you don't have a public that is like, for example, when you don't have politicians listening to you, to your remarks, you know, you're saying, listen, we need to change this. Listen, we need to change this. Listen, we need to change this. What's gonna happen? You're gonna create a revolution, you know? And there's a lot of people in power be like, they listen, they hear what's going on. They hear the troubles across the states and, you know, all over the country, but they don't do a damn shit. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about me. They just want us to pay our damn taxes just so they can live like kings. Like kings, you know? You hear me? That shit's not good, you know? That shit is wrong. It's evil. And it's awful, you know? And we need to stop it. And one of the reasons where we're basically seeing some kind of like start of a revolution in the United States is because people have been voicing their concerns, and I feel they're not being heard. You know, when somebody's telling you, okay, there's some kind of systematic racism here, and we're not doing or moving towards some kind of change within the system, that alone can trigger the population to go nuts. Look what's happening in Minneapolis. Look what's happening in Texas. Look what's happening in Boston. Look what's happening in New York City. People are just like all over the place, you know? They're going nuts right now because of the killing of this poor man, Floyd, who was murdered by a police officer. It appears that the lack of sympathy by states' governments or even the federal government has initiated some kind of movement that is moving towards preventing or shifting the way that some of the police officers, I shouldn't say all, let's just stick with some, because not all police officers are bad. Out of the pile of all the police officers, you do come across really nice officers, people who follow the law, who are just in it to do their job, and that's it. And they're limited to their job, you know? They know what they have to do, and they call it a day, period, you know? Like, you're not bringing racism into work, you're not bringing hate into work, none of that stuff, you know? They stick to the rules, guidelines, procedures, and call it a day. And another thing that I wanted to mention is that I used to work in an academy, and I've noticed that the way that some of the police officers are trained, you know, that in itself, that they're trained, look for certain patterns, look for certain traits, look for certain actions that some of the people on the streets are engaging on. And if you, for some reason, realize that they're actually engaging in those patterns or actions or whatever the hell you want to call them, well, I guess that's enough to trigger a stop and frisk, if you want to put it that way. You know what I'm saying? So that alone, I kind of don't always blame police officers, because they always get caught up in the whole bubble, the system, you know? The system, in quotation mark, because the systems converts these police officers sometimes into bad people, you know? Sometimes I even have police officers, like some of my friends who are in the police force, who tell me, listen, just sometimes they get caught up in the whole thing, and then all of a sudden they just don't know how to stop, you know? Like, how do you stop? How do you stop this whole system from repeating itself, you know? So how do you separate what they're teaching the police officers at the academy, and act more humane towards society. That is the difference. So we need to initiate some kind of change. And I feel in order for that change to start, it won't change by changing the president. It won't, because that's only in the federal level. Yes, you may say, okay, we're going to change the president. Yay, victory, victory, we won. We are changing things in America. Well, you got that hell wrong, boy. Why? Because you got to start at the bottom. You got to start making shifts in the city council environment. What is it that we got to do? We got to change the people in power at the bottom in order to enact that change that we need at the top. Cases just don't go from the top to the bottom. For a case to get to a Supreme Court, we're just initiate. It starts somewhere at a state, in a city, where there's two parties disputing an issue, and then it goes all the way up, to the Supreme Court. And that's how it gets settled, So in order for us to effect that change, we need to start all the way at the bottom, and we need to make sure that we realize, okay, what are the changes that we need in society? And I truly feel, don't get me wrong here, I feel that because things are changing in society so rapidly, we have so many things that are changing for good, if you want to put it that way. We need to start changing people's mentality in some way, shape, or form. And some people who are in power may not be too fond of that, So you got to start at the bottom. There has to be some kind of coalition that fuels some kind of energy in cities, and start recruiting people, the young blood, the young generation, where the people who are going to fuel this country and make it amazing, great. And I'm not going to quote Trump on this one. Trust me, I'm not quoting Trump. But this country is already great, by the way. We just need to effect that change, and by doing that, we need to change our people and the people in power. We need to start changing the congressmen, the congresswomen. We need to bring young blood, fresh blood into this political arena, and that in itself is going to trigger some kind of other changes in society that is eventually going to make its mark for the long term. And if we don't do that now, okay, when are we going to do it, Because you're going to be like, oh, well, society's not ready for this. Society's not ready for that. Society is not ready for X, Y, and Z. Society is ready the moment that the young generation is telling you, okay, we want to effect some kind of change, and we want that swift change now, We want that change now. And when that happens, well, people need to listen. But the thing is, in this country, and I'm sure there's the same issue in so many other countries, the politicians, the people in power are not listening, You're getting all these older people who are in power, have this kind of mentality, whose mentality is already set, They're not changing from that way, shape, or form. They see things in one way, and that's it, So I shouldn't... I'm not saying like every single politician does that, Some of them are more receptive to change, but not all of them are, So that in itself would trigger some kind of positive change in the political arena and in society, and I'm sure we're going to accomplish great things in the long term. So one of the things that it bothers me a lot when governments are not listening to the people. This is a country formed by the people. We the people. What happened to that? We the people. What happened to we the people? People are just not listening to us. So when people are not listening to you, you're protesting in a peaceful way, and that is not good with them, and they're not happy with this, and they're not happy with that. What do you think is gonna happen? Eventually, it's like you telling your daughter or your son, I don't want you hanging out with these people on the corner, okay? They're really bad influence. Okay, you tell them that so many times that they go like, okay, mom, okay, dad, I got you, I got you, I got you. But then at some point, it's gonna get you to a point where you know, like you're frustrated, they're frustrated, and they're gonna like, there's something's gonna be triggered, and they're like, you know what? Screw you! I'm gonna go and do it either way, you know, because the way that you enact that kind of change, you know, is kind of, you have to go around it and kind of say to yourself, you know, okay, let's analyze this further, you know, be like, tell them, okay, don't hang out with X, Y, and C, you know, because it's gonna cause X, Y, and B and C and D and whatever, you know. So that in itself is something that we need to take into consideration. So yeah, it's very important that governments across, not only here in the United States but across the globe, starts listening to the people, because the young population are the ones who will eventually inherit this world, you know. So yeah, it's important to listen to the young population, to the people demanding a change, and if that change is not effected as they wish, well, look what's happening now, you know. It's sad, you know. We don't expect people to go out there and vandalize properties, you know. That should be off limits, certainly. I don't agree with that, vandalizing properties or commercial sites. None of that should be happening. You know, if we're gonna ban protest, we should do it in a very peaceful way. Certainly, I don't. I'm not here telling people, okay, go and protest in a very violent way. No, none of that stuff. You know, if you're gonna protest, okay, do it the right way. You know, but at the same time, I kind of understand where all these people are coming from. They're not being heard. They'll be like, okay, we have told you this so many times, you know, like we're so done with this. It's like a repetitive cycle. It never ends, you know. So what are you gonna do? You know, it's like, for example, you have a wife and her husband, and the guy keeps coming drunk, keeps coming home all drunk and stuff. Well, every single night, what do you expect her to do? Eventually she's gonna be like, I'm out of here. You know, she's gonna be like, I want a damn divorce, and she's gonna be out that damn door. You know, what the hell are you gonna do? You know, so it's actually. It's kind of understandable why they're actually very annoyed and are protesting in a very violent way. Because if you think about it, our current president, our current administration has kind of fueled this issue. And not only that, he has fueled violence across the country, and that in itself is not a good thing. You, as leader of the free world, you need to be you need to be more responsible as a person. You know, whenever you say things, you need to own it too, and you need to be careful with what you say too, because whatever you say can trigger a crash of any kind of issue. You know. So and that's it. Thanks for watching, and stick around for more information.